Welcome to the Weekly Leadership Experience, a place for leaders to get inspired, be challenged, and grow. I am your host, Reshad Oberlander. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Leadership Podcast. I want to thank you today for showing up. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. You know, leadership is not a position. It's about attitudes, behaviors, and actions. Being a leader is not dependent on title, education, or audience, and whether that audience is big or small, or your team is big or large. Some people struggle with the idea of being a leader because they believe they're not qualified. And if you're waiting to lead until you're ready, you will not lead. You can't wait. You got to take action and do it now. And today I want to talk about 3 things, among others, that qualify you as a leader. The first thing is having a desire to grow. And if you're like me, you have a burning desire to learn every day, to grow every day, to be better today than you were yesterday. And that's me. And if you ask the people that are close to me what I'm like, that's what I'm like. I throw myself into things. I put 100% effort in to the things that attract me and the things that interest me, and I go for it. And I want to do better, and I want to learn more. And that is the first thing that I believe qualifies you as a leader, is to have that desire and that interest in being better today than you were yesterday. The second thing is having a genuine desire to help and grow other people. And I love helping people. It is a great feeling to be able to help somebody experience a breakthrough, to be able to help them move past a limiting belief, to be able to help someone just move up in their career and realize that they've got everything that it takes to be able to go to the next level. That desire to help and grow others has to be genuine, and sometimes you have to look and go, hey, am I doing this for the right reasons? Because you can't be looking for the praise or for the good feeling and the dopamine hit that you get from doing something good for someone. But you have to genuinely want to elevate the person next to you and your fellow human, and really, really want to see people succeed for this to be real. And if you have that, that is the second of the 3 things that I believe qualify you as a leader. The third thing is your story qualifies you to lead. Why? Well, because people connect to people, not to position. Position is a title or a name card or plate. It looks good on a business card, but you're just a clown in a monkey suit until you give your people a reason to follow you. And that reason, I believe, starts with being able to build relationships, and building relationships is prevalent on you being able to connect to other people. And so your story enables you to do that. You might say to me, Reshad, I don't have a story. Maybe if you think you've lived a sheltered life. And maybe you have and maybe you haven't, but you do have a story. You just have to look for it. So first of all, I'm going to share some of my story with you, and then I'm going to give you a small exercise to help you with yours. So my story starts 30-some years ago when I was born in upstate New York in the United States, near Ithaca. And I grew up a little bit in the United States till I was about 7. And we lived in a few different areas. And when I was 7, we moved back to Australia. I say back to because my mom is Australian and my dad's American. So I have that dual citizenship. And we lived in Australia. I lived in Australia for about 15 years till I was 21. Around 21, I met my wife, who is Canadian, and we fell madly in love. We dated like nobody's business. And, when her time was up in Australia, when her trip came to an end, she moved back to Canada. I decided I couldn't live without her, so I chased her back here. We now live in Edmonton with our 2 beautiful girls. We've been married just about 14 years, which is about the same amount of time I've been in Canada. And so that's sort of a little bit of where I come from there. Growing up, I was the oldest of 4 boys. which is, as you can imagine, a loud and rambunctious household at my poor mother. And, there was fights and arguments and carousing and fort building and chopping down of trees and building of, rubber band projectile weaponry and all kinds of things. I'm sure my mother has more gray hairs than she cares to admit because of it. And, being the oldest comes with a certain level of quote unquote leadership and, some level of like, do as I say because I'm the oldest, which is, I think a lot of older kids go through that kind of thing. And when I was 19, my parents divorced, which happens to a lot of people, happens to a lot of families. It's a sad thing, but it happens. And so that was a tough time for our family. As a young person, both my parents, to different degrees and kind of different interests of their own, encouraged me to build good character, to pursue the things that I love. And one of the things that I found that I loved and enjoyed doing was reading about business and leadership. And so I started reading books by John Maxwell and Dale Carnegie and Og Mandino, just to name a few people, and pursue those things. I even started my own business when I was 16. I was working with horses. It was a interesting and fun experience. Great experience to be entrepreneurial at a young age. And so I pursued various leadership opportunities kind of from that moment and maybe from a little earlier. And I was in a few different volunteer positions of leadership and then various kind of career positions. And there's many things that you begin to learn very quickly as soon as you step into business and into any kind of a leadership position, where you begin to learn that you're making a lot of mistakes really quickly. And you're either going to learn from those mistakes and become better, or you're going to get stuck and stagnate in those kind of the mire of mistakes and not growing and not learning and not moving forward. And some of the things that I found about myself was that more often than I cared in my early career, I was choosing arrogance over humility and, doing things that, you think classically that a bad leader would do, like taking credit for the team's success instead of sharing the credit where it's due. And I had people quit on me, cry on me, yell at me, get upset because of choices I made or didn't make, or the way I decided to do some things. And you're not always going to please everyone as a leader, and that's not the point. But the point is that, I was struggling with leadership for myself and finding my own nature and listening sometimes to other people telling me I should be this way or that way. And, those are things that you have to learn either quickly and early on, or you will struggle with those things throughout life. And many people do, and hopefully in some small way I can begin to help people move past that. But then other things that I've had to face in my leadership career have been, depression, having anxiety, having to make tough decisions, who to let go, who to keep. I've been let go from jobs. And these are all things that I tell you because this is my story. This is who I am. These are aspects about my life that I'm sharing with you because it doesn't define me. I'm not bogged down in having been fired or having made bad choices. I've learned. I've discovered that I can make these mistakes, that I can move forward, that I can become better, that I can be a better leader, and so can you. And I want to use my story to be able to connect with you, and my story to connect with the people that I lead on a daily basis. And it is this story, and it is these experiences and these struggles and striving in life sometimes that we all go through that enable us to build meaningful connection to the people around us. And this is where real leadership begins, is realizing that everything that you've gone through and everything that you've been and everything that goes into that story makes you better as a leader and makes you qualified to lead. So here's your exercise. Write down your story. Take some time, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days. But write it down. Begin to take some notes. And it doesn't have to be a novel or an autobiography just now. maybe you're inclined that way. It'd be great to read your story one day, perhaps. But take some notes. Where are you from? Where have you lived? What did you grow up with? What are the experiences that defined you? What have you done and experienced in life? And take a moment to appreciate yourself for the breadth of experience that you bring to the table. When you've written all of this down, take a moment and say, you know what? John, good job. Jane, well done. And look at that and go, you know what? I have a lot to offer. I am qualified to lead, and start leading today.
If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, would you head over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, leave me a rating, leave me a review, and share this with a friend. It spreads the word and helps the podcast grow. You can also find me on social media at RE Oberlander. Until next time, stay awesome.